right, Joni, so the moment we've all been waiting for. Can you walk us through how you make ice cream and exactly how you incorporate Amoretti?
Absolutely. We're gonna make our Cookie Monster ice cream. It's our best seller. It includes Amoretti Birthday Cake Artisan, and it's really super simple. Our ice cream base goes in. Our ice cream base is simply cream, milk, egg yolk, sugar, and stabilizer. Okay. And then we'll add vanilla, salt, and birthday cake. It's delicious. It's super simple. So it's as simple as measuring out our Amoretti.
Okay.
This recipe gets 8 ounces, so we're gonna measure out 8 ounces.
So how did you determine that 8 ounces was appropriate for this batch?
Again, I taste to my palate. There are the recommendations, which was a great starting point that Amoretti gives. But again, I make to my palate, so I'll be honest, I don't look at what the recommendations are anymore, just because I've been doing it for almost 5 years with Amoretti. And I have found that for this recipe, 8 ounces of birthday cake in our Cookie Monster ice cream is the perfect balance of flavor to what we're looking for.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Amoretti does give you a recommended usage level, but it's just a starting point, right? So like you said, everyone's palate's different. You can always add more. There's no, it's not a problem. Right. It's just make it how you want.
And if you're not sure,
yeah.
Right. It's not a hard and fast rule.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So we'll go ahead and add our cream base. I use a pretty high fat content. I find that makes it more delicious. So we just pour this good stuff right into the machine. I use an Emery Thompson 24 quart machine, so this is 12 quarts of mix. And my Emery Thompson machine is a girl. I figured since I bought her, I could decide if she was male or female, and she's definitely a girl. She's a good girl, she does great work and makes us some great ice cream.
Beautiful.
So in goes our cream. We're going to add a little salt. People always underestimate how much salt desserts need. This is simply vanilla and a little bit of blue. And then in goes the Amoretti deliciousness. And it is that simple. Again, this is our best seller. I can't run out of it. If we get close to running out, my employees know to call me.
And then you call me or go online and place your order.
Absolutely, and then I run in and make more. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on my machine. We make homemade ice cream here. And start. The red switch is just the refrigeration unit, so now the refrigeration's gonna go on. It's a 3-phase machine, so it'll make 3 buzzing noises, and then we know the refrigeration's on.
And so that machine will do all of the mixing and incorporating for you?
Absolutely. It's got beaters inside, paddles, if you will, and it spins. It's spinning at 234 rotations per minute right now. That's the rotation level I like. Okay. This machine has the capability of going up and down, and this is just what I have found that I like. It spins like gelato, okay, but it's ice cream based. So it's just my choice. Get to my palate.
Right. So how does it change the finished product if you ramped it up or decreased the speed?
More air.
Okay.
It's more air. It's like making whipped cream. The more you whip it, the more air you get in it. It's essentially what you're making. You're making frozen whipped cream. Right. So you have to add air, and the lower rotations get you less air, more rotations get you more air.
Okay. So will it be denser if you lowered, like the ice cream itself, right? Will be denser.
It will be more dense and more rich.
Right.
You'll want a smaller serving. So I have found we like a little bit more air in it, not too much. Right. So you get a decent sized scoop and enjoy it and not feel like, oh, I just ate a brick. You know, I ate too much.
Definitely.
So.
Okay, that makes sense. So roughly, usually how long does it take?
The first batch in a day takes the longest because the machine's warm. Right. The first batch will take about 10 minutes. Okay. And then after that, the lowest part of the day is probably 7 minutes at the lowest. When it's super cold, they go really fast. Making ice cream, you try to have as little waste as possible. So you try and stack the flavors you're making in a day in order of what you can add from one to the next.
Okay.
So say you're making strawberry, well then after that maybe you make a raspberry, and after raspberry you make a different berry flavor, because if a little bit of strawberry ice cream gets into raspberry ice cream, no one's gonna know. If you get a little bit of raspberry into, say, chocolate with raspberry, no one's gonna know.
Right.
So you try and stack your flavors and make them accordingly so there's as little waste as possible.
Understood. Okay, that makes sense.
So there you go.
So this is gonna be done pretty soon.
Pretty soon, and then you get to see the beautiful ice cream come out the bottom.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
Now we just wait.
Okay. So do the flavors that you make, does that change or differentiate how much it mixes, or is it the same across the board for you guys?
It will depend on the, again, chemistry. The sugar or salt content of an ice cream also varies how long it takes to freeze.
Okay.
A lot of sugar, a lot of salt, it's going to take longer to freeze. Less sugar, less salt, less time to freeze. If you think about it, when you're up in the mountains or in snow in wintertime, you throw salt on the roads to have the ice melt.
Right.
Salt lowers, actually raises the freezing temperature. So you have a hard time when you have salty ice cream getting it to freeze.
Okay.
So again, it's chemistry. Sugar does the same thing. So a really sugary and salty ice cream, it's gonna take you a while to freeze.
To freeze it. Oh, okay. Are there any other components that will determine how long it needs to mix?
If you add alcohol, I've done alcohol ice creams. We do like a Bailey's Irish cream at St. Patrick's Day, maybe margaritas at Cinco de Mayo. If you add alcohol, of course, that affects freezing time because alcohol takes much longer to get to freezing point as well.
Okay, but so the basic ingredients that go into an ice cream, besides the sugar and the salt, will pretty much freeze around the same time,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah,
okay.
As long as you have the same fat content in your ice cream every time, which I do. We run at 14%. That base will freeze if it's all day, will freeze at the same rate. And so it just depends on what components I'm adding to my base that vary the freezing time.
Okay. And so before you finalize a recipe, especially the recipes that include Amoretti, how many times would you say that you make the recipe, you go through this process, you freeze it, the next day you come in, you try it, and you're like, we need more? How many times do you feel that you would do that R&D phase until you've been like, aha?
I'm getting much better.
Right.
Well,
you've been at it for quite some time.
At the beginning, it was probably 3 or 4 times.
Okay.
And now I can get really, really, really close the first time, if not hit it the first time. But I really can think about it, and I've made enough flavors. I probably have 50 or 60 flavors in my recipes.
Okay.
I can go back to flavors that I've made previously and say, okay, I know I did this with this berry flavor or with this chocolate or this nut flavor, and it took X amount of this or that. So I have enough background now to know pretty good the first time around what to hit.
Right. No, you've been around for a long time, so it makes sense that you're pretty well versed in Amoretti flavors and usage levels. And
Right.
Yeah, because I see a lot of times where, like you said, the usage level is, a range. And oftentimes we get calls and it's like, well, how much?
Right.
And we're like, well,
you have to taste it.
You have to taste it.
You have to taste it.
Yes, and the R&D phase, especially when somebody's starting out, it's so crucial because, like you said, what I perceive as a particular flavor of strawberry should taste like versus what your palate is different. And so even people are saying like, well, why is there a range? Well, it goes back to your palate. And where do you want that flavor? Forward, backwards, in the middle? Is it balanced?
Is it the back flavor? Is it the forward flavor? Which is it?
Yeah.
And I have found that I have 2 other people that are here in the store that their palates are either similar enough to mine or complement enough to mine that when I'm making a new flavor that I'm not sure about, if I have them here with me when I'm making it, we all taste as we go, and when we all agree it's done, and there's nothing else to do. So then it's only one time. Yeah. So if I'm making a flavor I'm not sure about, if those 2 people are here with me, we taste until we know it's right, and there's no second hit. It's done.
Yeah.
That's the best part. So if you can have those people on staff, it's a win.
It is. Because I've seen in many different industries, they do that. They're like, this is what I think tastes good. And then they'll go to the staff and be like, okay, you try it. And now you try it. And then now you try it. What did you think? You know, oh, I think it's great, but this, and oh, this is terrific.
It could use more salt, it could use more vanilla, it could use more background flavor, it could use more nuts, it could use more chocolate, it could use more Amoretti birthday cake, whatever. It's not forward enough for me. So I have found that like I said, it's the three of us. If the three of us are back here making an ice cream, it's a home run if we all agree. Yeah. And there are times when we're making something we're like, it's just not gonna work. It's just not gonna be flavor we're gonna hit.
Right.
And we can move on.
Yeah, it's just in the trash, start over. Yeah, definitely. It's funny that you guys say that, because even in the flavor industry, right, that's where I come from, we do the same thing. So anytime a new flavor is created, the owner brings it out in whipped cream or Cool Whip, and he's like, try this, try this, try this. And we all give him our feedback, you know? And then he goes back in his lab like a mad scientist, and he like comes back out and he's like, try it now, try it now. This is at this percent, and this is, and to us, we're like, okay, you know, yeah, the lemon tastes great in this, or, you know, it's too forward. And then he comes and he'll come back, and it's nice because as a group, we all kind of collectively get to give our inputs. Right. And then at the end, we're like, I was a part of making that.
Right? Yeah. And I have found that, like I said, if you have a collective group of people, you get a better answer than if I'm back here by myself just making ice cream. Yeah. I think I make pretty delicious ice cream, but when I get more input from people that I know what they're talking about, you get a much better product. So I prefer to do it that way. Yeah. I'm gonna take a look. It sounds like it's starting to freeze. It's not there yet.
So I noticed that the sound of the machine changes.
Yeah, and I can be making ice cream and be in the other room and know I need to run in here because I can hear it. The machine, because the cream is getting thicker, the machine and the motor works harder. So you hear the tone change in the machine. And so I know, and there's a little rattle. If you hear it tink, 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 tink.
I do.
In a little bit, this will get so thick that tink, tink, tink will stop. Oh. And that's another sign, if you're back here enough, to know, okay, it's almost done. Yeah. It's just another thing. And it'll probably stop in about a minute or two. It'll stop making this will stop rattling.
Okay. Yeah, because in the beginning it was just whipping liquid. And now you can hear it's like, it's almost like a pudding.
Oh look, see? Oh, there you just got a little bit, but it's gonna stop in a second. And you can start to see the doors are getting cold. See, it's starting to freeze, and you can touch it's super cold.
Oh yeah, it is.
And by the end of the day, it's just completely frozen the doors. It looks awesome. And it'll start to look like fluffed marshmallow is what I think it looks like when it's almost done. So right now it's still, you can see it still looks like whipping cream, but it'll look like fluffy marshmallow when we want to pull it out. And that's when I'm training people, I tell them, you're looking for marshmallow. And they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, it does look like marshmallow.
When you see it, you'll know. Yeah. Right. So at this point, if you wanted to add any inclusions, would you do it at this point?
Absolutely, and it really depends on the ice cream. Some inclusions go in the machine, some go out, which with this one, we're gonna put the inclusions in, I'm gonna stir them in at the end. Okay. It just depends, because if you can put cookies in here, which I do in some recipes, but the beaters on this are so strong, it obliterates the cookies. Okay. And sometimes you want, the more you obliterate anything and the smaller particles, the more flavor particles you have on your palette. Right. It's surface area, again, chemistry. So sometimes you want that, and sometimes you want the texture of a bite of a cookie. Right. So it just depends on what you're trying to go for. So sometimes inclusions go in here, sometimes they get stirred in, sometimes I use an immersion blender and beat them into the cream before it even goes in here. So it really just depends on the recipe, how much flavor you want on the palette, what you're going for texture-wise. It's a very, sometimes yes and sometimes no. But yeah, we could pour anything in here right now. Right. We could put cookies in here, cereal, candies, nuts, sprinkles, anything we wanted to put in here right now, we could.
Okay, and so how would you achieve a variegated effect?
That I would pull, when we pull the ice cream out, you'll see, I would layer, we'd pull a little ice cream, have it in the bucket, put a thin layer of the variegate, more ice cream, more variegate, more ice cream, more variegate, and then a couple of punches with a spatula and maybe 2 stirs, and that's it.
And that's it. Okay.
Because even if you just layer it, when you're scooping to the customer, we'll never know it wasn't like a beautiful swirl. Right. It looks like a swirl when you scoop a layer. I like to do a couple of spatula situations, but
Okay.
It's that simple. Just layering is enough, but I like to give it a little swirl.
Right. Okay. Because I know, like, when you go to the store and you get, most people don't really know what is a variegate or what is an inclusion. So can you explain to the people that may not know what those terms are?
Absolutely. So I'm gonna look in here real quick.
Oh yeah, definitely.
We're getting there. We're almost there.
And so we're looking for that marshmallow.
Right, and you can hear the machine, the pitch went up again. So we're almost there. In a second, I'm just gonna turn the freezer off and let it spin for a minute.
Okay.
Inclusions are anything that's a particle that is in an ice cream. A variegate is like a swirl or a sauce in an ice cream. So a variegate would be like a smooth, creamy sauce, caramel swirl, peanut butter, chocolate, marshmallow swirl. Most swirled items are variegates. Right. Inclusions are nuts, chocolate chips, cookies, candy bars, all of that. Sprinkles, like that. Anything that's like a particle that you would bite. And a variegate is more of a sauce that would melt and you can eat on a spoon. Right. Okay, if you look, it looks way more fluffy and marshmallowy. I'm gonna turn the freezer off just to get a little more air in it without it freezing. Okay, that was gonna be my question. So why are you turning it? Yeah, perfect. The last 45 seconds, 60 seconds is just for air. Okay. And not freezing. This machine is good in that if I freeze it too much, it will just turn the machine off. It won't blow the motor. Some machines, and you might hear there's water. This is a water-cooled machine. You might hear the water running. We like water-cooled because if it was an air-cooled machine, it blows hot air at you. So, and there's enough freezers in here blowing hot air in this room. Yeah. So we chose water-cooled. But the last 60 seconds is just more air. It makes a little bit fluffier ice cream. Well, I just want you to know that I appreciate that decision of doing a water because it's not very hot in here, which is... No, it's not, and it can be. And this is a blast chiller, which I didn't turn on. Once we make ice cream, we normally put it in the blast chiller. This gets to 40 below. And we try to get the ice cream to 0 as fast as possible. Temperature-wise, water molecules in ice cream and they're attracted to each other. Water is just attracted to itself. So the faster you can get ice cream to 0, the less... Once you get to 0, water can't move. Right. So if you take a long time to get to 0, water molecules can travel and connect to each other and you get icy ice cream crystals. So there we go. If you look in there, it's a marshmallowy. Oh, I do see it. Like I get what you're saying, that texture. Okay. All right. All right. And then I'm going to grab, and I will be more than happy to help you as well. Cookies. I'll have you sprinkle cookies. So we're gonna do 2 scoops of this, 1 halfway through and 1 at the end. Okay. And I'll stir. So if you could hold. This makes it the Cookie Monster. Here we go. Ooh, look at that. There's half, if you could. All right, and then we're doing a whole scoop? Yep. Like that? Dump. Yep, go ahead. Dump away. Woo. And then, that's 1. And I'll stop right there. Go ahead. Go ahead. 2. And you get really strong forearms doing this. Yeah, I bet. I mean, you're making it look really easy though, I must say. All right, there's 1. Now this makes 2 3-gallon buckets. We only put 3 gallons of mix in. We get pretty much 6 gallons of ice cream out. So how much cream did you say you put in the beginning? I said 12 quarts, which is 3 gallons. Okay. And then you get 24 quarts out. 3 gallons, 6 gallons, or 12 quarts, 24 quarts. Okay. Okay, so you get double the ice cream pretty much. Now you can see the very last little bit of ice cream that's coming out is a little more liquid. It's not as marshmallowy, and that's just friction. We've pulled most of the ice cream out and the beaters are causing friction, so it's warming up just the very last bit of ice cream. So I have found it's super important just to mix all that last little bit of ice cream in. Okay. And it just makes a better freezing consistency if it's all mixed in and kind of all one continuous amount of delicious frozen ice cream.
So if you didn't mix that in, would that end up freezing on the top with that crystal-like?
It would if I didn't use a blast chiller.
Right.
I use a blast chiller so it freezes really fast, but in worst case scenario, absolutely yes.
Okay.
I just have found we like the consistency better if it's mixed in.
Okay.
So, and that's it.
That's it.
That's how we make our Cookie Monster. And it's a mix of Oreos and chocolate chip cookies mixed into your birthday cake ice cream. It's that simple and delicious.
Oh,
Bestseller.
I can see why it's a bestseller.
Bestseller every day, all
Like
day.
my 2 favorite cookies. Who doesn't love birthday cake?
Right?
And then you put all of that in ice cream. It's like
Right.
it's like a
It's
triple
delicious.
threat.
It's delicious. And don't forget the salt. Salt makes it even better.
Definitely.
So that's it. I'll turn this off. Close this up.
So now we're gonna put the lids on it, pop it in the blast freezer.
And it'll freeze in the blast chiller for 8 to 12 hours, depending on how long I'm here. And then it goes in the normal freezer for another 12 hours. If it can go 24, it's better. And then it's perfect for scooping. It gets
So how quickly would you say that you are switching out these tubs for the front scoop case?
Cookie Monster during summer gets switched at minimum 1 time a day, maybe 2. Our popular flavors 1 to 2 times a day during summer.
Yeah.
So I'm making a lot of ice cream.
I mean, Temecula is so hot. I think
It's
today
pretty
it's
hot.
like 102, right?
Yeah, and it's not even the hot time. Yeah, at the hottest it'll be 120 probably.
Oh, wow.
115 for sure. 120 on the worst day. We have found though, on those days, people don't come out to get ice cream till it drops down to 100. So the minute the temperature drops down to 100 on a really hot day, we know we're gonna get slammed. So if it's 120, we can all just wait. I can, have employees come back later tonight. But as soon as the temperature goes right under 100, everybody comes out of their houses.
Yeah.
All of a sudden it's bearable.
I wouldn't come out of my
Yeah,
house.
no, they don't come out.
Yeah.
They don't come at 120. But 100, they're here.
Yeah,
for sure.
Definitely.
There we go. Okay, I made a little mess. That's all right.
Right. I'm excited.
Cheers.
Cheers. Mmm.
So good.
It is delicious. You like get the coldness, and as it just kind of melts slightly, you like feel the birthday cake starting to resonate over your palate, and then you start crunching the little cookie pieces.
It's like the best.
It is so delicious.
It's the perfect level of sweet and salt.
I love it.
So good.
I'll just take this from you now.
That's for me. That's for you.
I'll just take this now.
For you. Enjoy.
Oh, this is delicious. So thank you so much for walking us through the ice cream process. But the thing that really makes you guys unique is that at DOH Creamery, you don't only just make ice cream. You guys also make edible cookie dough.
Cookie dough.
So can you walk us through that process as well?
Absolutely. We've gotten a little bit of a head start. We've already creamed our butter and sugars.
Okay.
So we have that done. We're gonna add our Amoretti Artisan birthday cake. So I'm gonna weigh that out.
So same thing, we did this same exact flavor in an ice cream application.
We
so
did.
How did you figure out how much artisan to add to the cookie dough?
Again, we went a little at a time. And with the cookie dough, I have found that we didn't need as much to hit the mark that we were trying to hit. So again, it's to our palate.
Okay.
It's what we prefer. And so for this recipe of birthday cake, I'm only using 5 ounces. So it makes a pretty big batch of cookie dough. And I'm almost there. A couple more drops. I'm gonna go over. Nope, I hit it.
Perfect.
I hit it. There we go, 5 ounces. All right, we're gonna head over to our mixer and get going.
Let's go.
All right, so here we go. I'm gonna hand this off to my handy helper.
And so there we have the butter.
Butter, sugar, and vanilla.
Okay.
It's all mixed in there. And we just creamed our butter and sugar, just got ahead of the process.
Okay.
So we wanted to get that done. So we're gonna turn the mixer on, and we're actually gonna add our sprinkles in too here in a second. It is birthday cake, it requires sprinkles.
You can't have birthday cake without
You
sprinkles.
gotta have sprinkles.
Have to have sprinkles.
Gotta have sprinkles in that. So we add the sprinkles first because we have just found that they disperse better if you add them before the flour.
Okay.
So our cookie dough is simple ingredients: butter, sugar, flour, delicious flavors, vanilla, salt. That's pretty much all it is.
Okay.
There's nothing crazy in our cookie doughs. It's all ingredients grandma would know, and it's delicious.
Now, I noticed that one of the things that you didn't mention when you were listing off the ingredients, in a traditional cookie dough, it would have all-purpose flour and eggs.
Right. We have no eggs,
Right.
and we heat treat our flour. You have to heat treat flour
Okay.
because of the risk of E. coli. With the way the farms are set up here in America, there's a risk of E. coli in flour.
Okay.
So you have to heat treat it up to 160 for a certain amount of time to eliminate that risk. So we use all heat treated flour. We heat treat our own flour.
Okay.
We don't have a source for it otherwise, so we heat treat it and we know it's safe. I happen to have a food scientist in our family, so I know we've done it to the right temperature and we make sure it's safe. And then there's no egg in our cookie dough. Because we're not baking it, you don't need leaveners and we don't need egg.
Right.
So you're eating it raw. It's delicious. I personally would rather eat cookie dough than cookies, but
I'm like, when I bake them or whenever I make traditional cookies,
Right.
I'm always picking at the cookie dough.
Right.
So
we all do.
we
all do. But here I make it
Yeah.
safe, and my customers can be safe and eat
Right.
it. So
Definitely.
it doesn't matter if you're pregnant, not pregnant. I have pregnant women who say, "Oh my goodness, I can't eat cookie dough." No, you actually can. I heated the flour and there's no egg. Eat as much as you
Yes.
want. So they're very happy.
Awesome. That's
All right. So we've already added our sprinkles. I'm gonna go ahead and add our flour, and that's the last step. So
Okay. And so this is the heat treated flour that
heat-treated
you're
flour.
adding.
It's already cooked. We actually don't bring uncooked flour into any of our containers.
Okay.
It comes in bags, uncooked, obviously.
Right.
We take it directly out of bag and cook it. It doesn't hit a container until it's cooked.
Okay.
So then we know we haven't
Right.
cross-contaminated.
So you guys have practices in place
Absolutely.
that everyone's trained on to prevent that type
Right.
of cross-contamination, quote unquote.
Because it's absolutely my biggest fear.
Right.
Outside of peanut allergies is the fear of E. coli to a customer.
Right.
So eggs give you salmonella, and salmonella, you could get salmonella from eggs, right?
Right.
That's what you've been raised saying you can't eat cookie dough because of the eggs.
Right.
And it's actually the flour that's the scary part. The eggs will make you sick. E. coli can actually kill you. So we heat treat all our flour and it's all safe to eat. So
Well, we appreciate the extra step that you put into it.
there we go. So we've lowered our bowl. We're gonna put in just about a half of this flour and get it going. Like anything, you don't add all your flour at once. This bowl is pretty heavy. There we go. Make sure my machine's on 1. There we go. All right. You wanna, okay.
So we're adding half the amount of flour.
Correct.
We're gonna let it incorporate and then you'll add the other
Add
half?
the rest.
Okay.
And we don't want to beat it too long. Like anything with gluten, if you beat it too long, it gets gummy. So we try and actually beat our flour as little as possible.
Okay.
Unless it's gluten-free flour, which we have a gluten-free cookie dough that we work with as well.
Oh, that's amazing.
And that you don't have to worry about. That's the good part about gluten-free dough is you don't worry about the gluten buildup.
Yeah.
I'm gonna use
And I'm
my
sure that
spatula.
also appeals to another type of customer base for you guys
There
as well.
is. We have a family member who has celiac disease, so I'm very cognizant of trying to make sure that everyone has something they can eat in my store. I do try very hard to have something for everyone. So
Well, Amoretti's got you covered on the no artificial.
no artificial
All
colors,
natural.
right? And I know when I'm ordering from you, there's no peanut contamination and anything with no peanuts in it. All of that.
We even actually, the artisan peanut flavor that we offer, the old-fashioned peanut butter, it actually doesn't even contain any peanuts.
Oh wow, I did not know that.
Yeah. So you can still appeal to those that may have a peanut allergy,
Whoops, I'm making
that
a little bit of a
like the
mess.
flavor of peanut, that may have, gotten that later in life. We do have that option. So if you're interested, I'd be happy to get some samples sent over for you to
We
check
might
out.
need to try that. All right, here we go. We're gonna make a mess. You ready? Here we go. It wasn't even that bad. There you go. It's that simple. It's gonna be ready here in a second.
Wow.
gonna scrape it down just a little. There she goes. And that's it. Birthday cake cookie dough.
Yay! So do you guys freeze this next?
No, it's just refrigerated.
Okay.
Cookie dough is just refrigerated.
Okay.
We have found that if you freeze it, it's delicious, but it breaks spoons. You can't dig into it. It's too firm. So it can go in the freezer just for storage, but we refrigerate everything and we serve it refrigerated. Ice cream goes obviously is in a freezer, and this is refrigerated.
Okay, good to know. I was wondering that. I was like, is this good frozen too?
No, it is delicious. And if you roll it flat, you can cut it into shapes and do things with it too. That's uber yummy. But we just have it refrigerated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tons of fun. Well, I'm excited. Do you notice that there's a taste difference from when it's freshly made versus after it's refrigerated?
Yes, that's true with almost anything. And it depends on your palate. We have girls who work here that love it more right out of the bowl, and we have girls who love it more out front. So it really just depends, yes. But it's fresh and delicious. You can eat it out of here or out front, and we should go try some out front.
We should try it in both places. Thank you, Joni, so much for allowing us to come into DOH Creamery, teaching us about Amoretti and ice cream and edible cookie dough. It's been such a pleasure.
We had such a fun time having you here. Thanks so much for coming. Thank you for Amoretti and for all your wonderful products. So cheers.
Cheers.
Do you want to try some?
I do. Before we dive in, for those of you guys that have never been to DOH Creamery, it is located here in Temecula, California, so please come on in, and Joni will be more than happy to have you guys try all of these wonderful flavors that she creates. We appreciate you guys tuning in. If you have any questions, feel free to call one of our product consultants. You can also email chat us if you prefer. You can do that on our website. We greatly appreciate you guys tuning in once again. Thanks. Bye.